So welcome. I'm Dr. Bart Rademacher, Prescription for Your Transformation, Real People, Real Conversations, and Real Success. And there's a reason I call it Prescription for Your Transformation, not because I'm a physician, but really because I'm understanding that as we grow up, from the very wee years of our life, and as a young child, and then as a young adult, and then as a young teenager, then an older teenager, and then even as an adult, there are many people around us that influence us for whatever reason that might be, good, bad, or indifferent. But the thing is that there's this concept of what's called memes. And memes are just concepts, ideas that infect us. And so we get infected by other people. And most of the time it's by good intentions, particularly from parents or teachers or even mentors. But the point of the matter is that sometimes we take these things on very unconsciously, and we're not even aware of the choices that we're making. And very often I would meet people in my coaching career that are just miserable in their jobs. They just don't love what they do. And other people I've discovered that after a 30-year career suddenly realize, you know what, I've never really enjoyed this job. Let me do something else. And there's this remarkable woman. She was one of the VPs, I believe, of a major bank, Chase Bank. And she decided to become a shaman at the age of, I think, 50 years old. There are so many people out there that are pursuing careers, looking for that happiness by somebody else's rules, and oftentimes don't discover true happiness because they're not living their life by their prescription. And so that's the reason for this platform, Prescription for Your Transformation, new voices, new solutions, tapping into your authentic genius so that you can live the life that you desire. And today I'm delighted to introduce an amazing woman because she very early on realized what she was doing and by the rules that she was following other people. And at a very young age, she decided that she was going to live life on her terms, pursue that honestly and authentically, and then help others, particularly women, find that for themselves. Love the fact I just talked to her, and love the fact of her intuitive and inspirational approach, because oftentimes that really is the best one. So Lo, thank you very much for joining me today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So I was really intrigued by the fact that you said two key things that affect so many of us. Fortunately, I was not one of those. But, you're told to live in a certain way. You're told that you're going to be successful by doing certain things. And then basically you're living life by somebody else's design. And in essence, you're proving yourself. You feel that you have to prove yourself to others by doing what it is that they want or they believe is best for you. And then you find out that it's not right and it's not authentic. You went into a career, and I'm going to let you share the story, but you went into a career and you realized, at the end of that career or training or schooling, if you will, at the college, that this was not the right thing for you. So explain.
Yeah, so I call it like checking off the boxes. Like I was told growing up, you go to college, you get a job, you get married, have kids, have family, do all of that. So I decided after I went to college, I was going to go to law school. And I was going to go to law school because, I wanted to help people in some way. And I thought that it was how I was meant to help people. But as I got into it and getting practicing as a student attorney, I learned it very much was not how I was meant to help people. I was overwhelmed, anxious, just, felt soul crushing about what I was doing and didn't want to get up in the morning because it just wasn't fun and I wasn't happy. And so then I just came to a point where I was like, well, what does my happiness look like? And how do I communicate that to a family who is like, you did all this training and you graduated and now you don't want to do this? Like, wouldn't you've known in the middle of it? And I'm like, no. It's kind of like when someone joins the military and they go off for their 3 months boot camp in the beginning, like no one knows what happens there unless you go through it. And we just assume from the outside world that it's awful. It's the same with law school. You're going through it, you're in it, you can't really see anything outside of it until it's towards the end and you're like, oh, wait a second. Maybe I should have checked in a long time ago, or, gone outside the law school rock to figure out, is this really what I want to be doing?
I think the most important message I got out of that as well is that it's okay to change your mind. And it's not such a thing of being right or wrong. Sometimes we make mistakes, but sometimes it takes a while before we figure things out. All of that's okay. When other people are judging you based on what their rules are, they lose the ability to see the greatness in you. And fortunately, you chose to fight against that fearlessly, if you will, or not so much fight perhaps, but challenge it and say, look, I'm going to live my life. You can live yours. I'm going to live mine. And I think that's very brave. And I think that's awesome.
Thank you. And you said a comment about it's okay to change your mind. Like, we're never taught that, like, at least my generation. It's always, as soon as you can speak, it's like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And then when you turn 18, well, where do you want to go to college and what's your major? And then, well, if you pick a major and you don't like that major, then, okay, if you decide to change it, we'll add another year. Or, if you change it, then it's like, what's going to happen? Because you told people you're going to do this, and then you're like, never mind, I don't want to do it. So then you fear that judgment that comes up because you made a decision, told it to the world, and then you're like, it's not working, I don't want to do it anymore. And so then it's that fear of judgment, which is what I faced a lot. I go particular with my family because I'm just really close to them. And it was having the bravery to be like, I don't want to do this. Like, I had a lot of stuff going on and I'm like, let me get through my rock bottom here, but I don't want to be a lawyer because it does not make me happy.
Right. Legal stuff in many respects is a very specific kind of field. And it's almost like a field where you have to outsmart the other one for whatever reason, because the one that has the better argument or the better sort of insights, they're going to win. So it's a win-lose kind of scenario. And what I like about what you're doing, and this is exactly what I do, I'm always looking for the win-win. And we definitely can't do that in the legal environment. And sometimes lawyers are very important. But the truth is that if we can find that space where we can just agree and get along with each other, and it really starts off by not judging others. I'm sure your parents and friends and mentors who are critical of you now, one day they'll realize, you know what, you made the smart decision, and so glad you did, because unfortunately so many people don't, and they're miserable.
Mm-hmm.
So you coach, and I like what you're saying earlier, is it's really the pursuit of happiness, and you're spot on with that too. And so I'd like to hear your perspective on your approach to coaching, and then at the end of that, I'd like to share my own kind of insight in what happiness is all about.
Right. Well, on my personal journey, like, discovering happiness is a choice, and then it's deciding what little things throughout the day that I enjoy that will bring that happiness in, or that joy. I use those terms, synopsis, joy and happiness. And a lot of times when I'm coaching my clients, it's really just giving them the permission to say what it is, what they want, and actually go out and do it and take those baby steps. A lot of times, some people are like, well, I want to go on this trip. Okay, well, why don't you? Like, you don't have to go on a trip to say, like, Europe tomorrow, but what can you do now to be planning so that way you can take that trip in 6 months or a year from now? And a lot of times it's scary for people to even admit what it is, what they want to do that would make them happy, because somehow the message we've been told is if you're happy, something bad is going to happen, or the shoe is going to drop, or you can't really enjoy that moment because then automatically, the world's going to explode or something, like whatever it may be, it goes back into that negative and fearful mindset.
Right. And what's interesting is, I mean, you're spot on when you're talking about the fact that you're creating the space, and it's that space of vulnerability too, where you open up and you get witnessed. And unfortunately, again, with so many people being so judgmental, and there's obviously a reason why people are judgmental, because they're also fearful. And it's nice that you're creating that space that people can talk about the stuff and kind of hear themselves talk, and then it starts making sense. And then when you get to fine tune it with the right kinds of questions, because I know that's what you do, and then help people really start focusing on what they need to focus on. Because one thing that I share with my clients, I'm sure you say something similar. The best thing about me as a coach is I'm not you.
Right. I mean, I teach yoga, and that's where, like, when I'm going through and giving them a sequence, I'm like, this is not my practice. I'm just throwing out poses for you to try and do. But if there's something, like, if you're a seasoned practitioner that you want to be doing in your practice for that class, then go do it. It's really not up to me to decide how you show up to your mat. And that's the same with my coaching clients. Like, I'm giving you the tools. I don't care how you use them, as long as you use them in an authentic way that's to you, that will help get you to your happiness. I really just care about you figuring out what your happiness is, what you really want to do and lights you up. I don't really care on the how it gets you there, as long as it's authentic and the choice that will get you there, not because, my coach said I needed to do this, so therefore I'm going to do this, when it doesn't feel like it's the right step for me.
It's about trying out, right? I mean, one thing that I've discovered over time, it's the more flexible you are, the more choices you have. And you're right, every moment is a choice. Every single moment you can make a different decision. I like to share with people that you're the culmination of all your choices, all your decisions, all your experiences, all your emotions to this very moment. And then laughingly, I say, it's your fault you're listening to me right now.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that scares a lot of people when they're faced with, actually owning it, because they want to own the good stuff. Everyone always wants to own the good stuff. They never want to own the bad stuff. But the bad stuff is where the most personal growth comes.
Yep.
And what you learn about yourself and what you don't want. So you have to own it all. Otherwise, you're not really owning yourself or being authentic to you, because you're shunning what people call your shadow self and not wanting to deal with it. And all you want to do is get to the quote unquote good stuff and the happiness. But yet, since you're denying that side, you can't really be happy and own who you are and be living the life you want authentically without acknowledging the mistakes you've made and the growth you've been through. Otherwise, you wouldn't be where you're at today.
No, you're absolutely right. And I think it's so important for people to, not play the victim card anymore, to take responsibility and accountability for where they're at. And I like what you said, you have to own it. And I like what we were talking about before the interview, is that you actually help people have that self-confidence so that they can own their stuff.
Exactly. I mean, for my own personal journey, like, I just wanted to disown law school and all the experiences of it and just say it was, those 3 years didn't happen. But that was blocking me for actually, like, showing up authentically to me, because I was, that's part of my story. It's part of the reason why I decided to become a coach and help not just women, but people in general be like, okay, I made this choice. It wasn't the greatest. It was like the dark years. I went through a lot of stuff, but I came out the other side and I survived it. And I'm, going through law school, I'm like, I can do anything now. Just realizing it and owning it, like, my confidence has, like, skyrocketed. And that's what I share with my clients, is you go through all this hard stuff, but you survived it. And then you're afraid of, one of my clients was afraid of sharing, like, an opinion on Instagram. But I'm like, you're afraid to share your opinion, but yet you've been through all of this and you survived this, and what's holding you back from just posting a quote or something that you believe in, because she's wanting to start her own business and all of this. I'm like, why? That's a barrier of yours, but let's figure it out.
Yeah, and the key word is authentic. You know, when you believe in something authentically, you're not believing it for other reasons. It is actually important to be witnessed, and it's important for people to know who you are. It's important to stand your ground. And I think when you're not resolute, if you will, or sure about something, or you're doing it for other reasons, then you know you may have that lack of confidence to share something because you know it's not authentic. And so just owning who you really are, your identity. I always like to say to people that I celebrate my faults and my weaknesses because then
Mm-hmm.
I'm admitting to myself I've got these faults and I'm not excusing them. You know, I'm not denying them. You know, there's that saying that I personally don't like. Some people like it, but my interpretation of being perfectly imperfect just says I'm not owning my imperfections. No, my imperfections are not perfect. They're just imperfections. They're weaknesses. They're faults. But I'm not making them wrong. It's specifically something that I know that I can work on. Because there's one belief that I have, and this is what I wanted to share with you about happiness, is that as like you do, I believe that everyone wants divine happiness. But the way to get it is you actually have to resolve whatever makes you unhappy. So once you remove everything that makes you unhappy, then you should be happy. And but the truth is that you know we grow with challenges, we grow with stress, we grow with disruption, we grow with all these things. And I think we're actually happiest when we do grow. And so it's a dance in life. And but having someone like you and help them navigate, you know, with the compassion that you obviously have and the patience that you obviously have and the non-judgment is really phenomenal. And I commend you for that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's just really like important to me to, come from a place of non-judgment because everyone has their story. Like even myself, I have deeper things that were happened even before law school that we won't get into, but I mean, even like owning those stories and letting them go is a process, and I had to learn the tools on my own, and I want to share that with people so they have these tools. So I'm not advocating that happiness is all the time and I'm loving life and walking around with butterflies all the time. No, life hits me and I get frustrated and fear comes in and I struggle, but then it's the comeback rate. It's like, what tools do I have in my toolkit to reconnect and get in line and figure out what is going on? Like my favorite saying is, if I feel stuck in a situation and not moving forward, is what am I supposed to learn from this? Clearly, I'm
Mhm.
supposed to learn something. I haven't learned it. So it's just opening it up from a fresh positive perspective of being like, okay, what am I supposed to learn so I can move on to the next step instead of playing that victim role of, oh, this is happening again. I'm so tired of this. Like, what now? Like, or why do I keep going through this cycle, this story again?
Right. I hear you. So I really want to thank you for today and sharing your insights. And if somebody wants to hire you as a coach, how do they find you?
They can find me at my website, lowentworth.com. That's LOWENTWORTH.com. They can also find me on Facebook. Lo Wentworth is my handle for Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. There's a dash between or underscore between Lo and Wentworth. But otherwise, I mean, that's how they can find me. If they want to start working with me, they just go straight to the website, and I have a calendar link so that they can sign up on and we can get the conversation rolling.
Awesome. Great. Well, I'm Dr. Bart Rademacher, prescription for your transformation, real people, real conversations, real success, tapping into your authentic genius and helping you live the life that you desire by finding out what you don't know that you don't know. That's going to make the difference. And that's the purpose, again, for this platform, interviewing people like Lo Wentworth here, her unique style as well, which is wonderful, and really honestly based on her own past experience. And I think that's one of the key things of great coaches is they also have many of their own experiences that they've learned from, and therefore, are legitimate in sharing their experience with you and their learnings with you as well. So I'd like to give you the last word, Lo. Any particular things you want to share or any messages you want to give out?
Give yourself permission to even be willing to have an idea of what your happiness is. A lot of times people don't give themselves permission just to look in, because they're just so afraid that, if they look in, then somehow they're selfish for wanting to see what it is that would really make them happy. So the first step in really any of this, and even transforming your life to finding your own happiness, is giving yourself permission.
I love it. And that's one of my key concepts. I agree with you 100%. So Lo, thank you so much. And, we will be talking for sure more often in the future on Facebook Live, and more insights and ways to help other people. So Lo, thanks so much.